Casa De Klub. I like that. Nice.
Hey, we like that too, coming at you, something so brand new. We in a new stew, and the vibe so true, kinda like a Zion, he had to go grab two. He with that Arizona Wildcat, in that upside down hat, and how many have I had staying with me? Round two. It's the price of admission on the Casa.
We're back with another episode of Casa De Klub. Today we got Atlanta Braves pitcher Spencer Strider joining us. Thanks for joining us, Spencer.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So you're in a unique spot right now, rehabbing. What's that been like? And, kind of walk us through when you went down injured, what'd you feel in your elbow? I know you're, we've seen some quotes where you have some opinions on all the arm injuries going on in baseball, just kind of what your take is on that and how you've been doing in this rehab process.
Yeah. You never feel great all the time. I had Tommy John in 19, and then I think since then I've been pretty conscious of my elbow, even when I've had good stretches where I feel good. And this just getting back into bullpens this past spring wasn't feeling great, but you don't want to think too much of it. You just assume that it's rust, and like I said, you never feel awesome. So I try not to make too much of how I feel anyways. I'm try to focus more on what I can control, and got into spring and things were good. Velo metrics, all that was good, felt good, and then very quickly just deteriorated. Figured that I had something wrong with my elbow, and there's a couple of spring outings where I was questioning whether I would get through them and kept pitching too well to.
I say it's wild because nobody touched you this spring. You have like almost 40 strikeouts.
Yeah, so that's where I'm
training.
like, maybe it's just me in my head. I don't feel good. It's spring training. I didn't feel good in any spring training. So
sure.
Again, try not to make too much of it, and then basically came to the conclusion that, all right, something's wrong with my elbow. I'm gonna ride this until I can't be effective. And then pretty quickly, I started throwing sinkers, and I don't throw sinkers, and I couldn't throw off-speed pitches, and I actually had a pop sensation too in my last outing, and went through the outing and then came off and said, yeah, something's wrong with my elbow. So went and saw the trainers, and something was up with my elbow.
Yeah. Did you, having gone through the Tommy John process before, did you think that was what was going on again, or because you didn't end up having a tear in your UCL, right? It was a bone fragment that broke off.
Yeah. So basically, I had, and I'm not a doctor. Let's make that clear, or a medical expert of any kind. So I can only try to explain what's been explained to me. I guess when I had Tommy John in 19, so I had a tendon. They transpose it, turning the ligament, whatever. And when that happens, your body sends calcium and all kinds of stuff, and responding to try to heal that area. And then as you throw, you're stressing the area, which strengthens it. And then they think at some point I overstressed it, and it started to calcify. The ligament inside the ligament started to calcify. That's what they call an ossicle, which is like a bone growth inside a ligament, I think. And I blew through tissue connecting the ossicle to my humerus. And so I had this like quasi ligament essentially that I blew. I didn't hurt my ligament, but it was atrophied as a result. And so that's what was making me experience these UCL injury type, symptoms. And which turned out to be, for having to be injured was the best case scenario, because I didn't need TJ. They did the brace repair, and everything's feeling and looking great to this point.
You sound like a doctor.
Doing pretty good impersonation.
Yeah, I mean, that was
I'd like to make it clear, not a doctor. Not a medical expert.
A lot of that was foreign language to me. What do you think, just the state of baseball right now with all the elbow injuries, what are the factors that kind of play into that as opposed to, give it 15, 20 years ago?
I mean, it's so multifaceted. I think it's tough given just the media environment there kind of pushes people to try to find one explanation. And it's in the soundbite world, there's no simple explanation that fits in a 30-second bite. So I mean, Obviously the quantity of throwing has got to be higher.
Yeah.
Overall, I'd say from a younger age. And I think that has, you talk to doctors, that's obviously a big factor. I think that our value how we've learned the value of velocity and stuff. And therefore there's a higher effort to obtain those things. Of course, that's a factor. Just, year-round training, periodization is different now. I think, and some of the rule changes have to impact it to some degree. And certainly the pitch clock is not the reason guys are getting hurt, but it's not a factor.
Could be a factor for sure.
So there's tons of things that go into it. I always think back to just the fact that the game, how it's changed, demands certain things of pitchers now. I don't know that there are many guys that I don't consider myself somebody who can go out and pitch below a certain level. I'm not redlining every single pitch, but I can't dip down too far. I don't have the skill set to do that. I don't throw a pitch that performs well when it's made contact with. So, I think that hitters, it's a lot of it's hitter strategy. They're trying to hit one spot 500 feet, and we're having to compete in a smaller strike zone, and therefore you're going to have to chase swing and miss. And to do that, you need better stuff. And to get that, you need to train harder, and you need to improve your mechanics. You need to, increase force on your elbow and your shoulder and everything. So, I don't know that there's one solution.
I'm with you. I think it's a complicated question for people to try to just put in one bucket of this causes or this is why people have arm injuries. It's also something you can't put the cat back in the bag either in terms of velocity, like you said. Guys see the direct impact that velocity has on their success and their results, and that's what everybody's chasing because it's the quickest route to success.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of along that it's the ability to fix the problems is new as well. 20, 30 years ago, there wasn't this surefire option to go get surgery to maintain your level of performance. If you were a guy who threw harder when they were younger and kind of made your way into the game because you had good stuff or good velocity, and then you experienced some type of discomfort or an injury, they weren't necessarily going to rush you to get an MRI because there wasn't some perfect solution to that. It was, your arm only hurts when you throw this hard. So let's learn how to pitch in a different way to, lengthen your career. And the game allowed that because the hitting strategy was different. Guys would hit the ball the other way. They would bunt. I mean, there was, the balls weren't juiced. I mean, there's so many different, the zones would expand throughout the game. There was just other ways to get outs. And, that's part of what has led to the 3 true outcome, environment that there is now. And I think it's a good thing that people are able to go get a harmless surgery, in the case of Tommy John or really any elbow injury, so that they can rehab and maintain their level of skill. I think that's not a bad thing. That's just medical science improving.
Klubers had the most interesting take I've heard with the Tommy John.
No, I mean, I think you just said it right there too. It's with the ability to do an operation with pretty good results. I think that teams are, and players are probably more willing to as well, but teams are quicker to send guys to get imaging done. And you hear people say it all the time. If you want to find a problem, go look for it. Go take a picture of it.
Absolutely.
Aside from all the injuries, man, like you've turned yourself into, one of the best pitchers in the MLB. You could argue you have the best stuff in the league. I've heard Kluber say it multiple times. You go 20-5, and in 2023 you break a John Smoltz record. Like coming out of Clemson, get drafted in that 2020 shortened draft, go in the 4th round. Like, what were these ever expectations of yours? I know you mentioned earlier you control what you can control, but I'm sure there was a point in 20 there where with 5 rounds going in the 4th round, like, maybe you don't hear your name get called that year, and then you go on to produce at the highest level very quickly.
Yeah, I think, my goal has always been just to be the best that I can. I think that I've fine-tuned it. That seems simple, and I think it is simple. I I've had to learn how not to compare myself to other people and get hyper fixated on things I can't control, and how to motivate yourself based on your goals, and both short term and long term. And I think in college I really wanted to get drafted out of high school. I was younger and wanted to be a Major League Baseball player or a professional baseball player. That's all I'd ever wanted, and it didn't happen. And I think despite having put what I thought at the time was my best effort and everything I had into achieving that goal, I still failed. And I think that experience of humility kind of let me, and then I got injured at Clemson, something I never thought would happen to me. Of course, you don't think, well, I'll never have, the elbow injury, whatever. Yeah. And then you do. So those two main experiences just kind of, demonstrated to me the fragility of the game. I'm not guaranteed all these things that I've experienced. And I wasn't anticipating being a first rounder or anything in 2020. And of course, COVID was another hey, man, there's so much out of my control. If I get an opportunity, I just got to make the most of the opportunity. I really can't focus on anything else. And so I thought, whoever takes me, and I'm going to put everything I have into it. And fortunately, the Braves rolled the dice and gave me a chance. And, they've been a phenomenal, provided a phenomenal opportunity for me.
There's not many guys that have the ascension that you had in 2021 in their first, season of pro ball. What'd you make? 5 stops one way? 5 stops?
That was the first year of the shrunk minor league. So I actually pitched in rookie ball 1 start. So I was at every level at one point.
It's impressive. All the way up to the big leagues.
Yeah.
It was interesting because I actually came into spring training and I got a chance to go to the alt site in 2020 after I was drafted and pitched a little bit. Mostly because I was still coming off of TJ. I was about 15 months at that point, I think. So they wanted me to pitch.
Yep.
And I was not very good. Had an increased velocity at this point, and I did a lot once COVID happened to improve my mechanics and get stronger, and basically all that resulted in was more velo, less command, no feel for an off-speed pitch, and then came into spring training in 21 and had lost all of my strengths. I wasn't throwing hard. I wasn't backspinning the ball well. Nothing was going well, and they pretty much said, "Hey, you're going to go to low A, and you're going to be there all year, and all you're going to do is throw your fastball and learn how to throw it for strikes. And then next year, hopefully you'll go to high A, and you'll do the same thing, and we'll just keep." And I'm like, shoot, I'm going to be a career minor leaguer who, never gets better and just kind of fizzles out. And I think that kind of shock to reality that forced me back into what can I do really well. That's how I'm going to have to be successful. And that provided a really quick opportunity.
But even after that, into the big leagues, you ascended so quickly, and it's becoming more common now. People, they want to lock up their young guys. But what kind of security did that give you? Because Atlanta entrusted you in 6 more years, which is just, I can't imagine what that was like being a 23-year-old at that time.
Yeah, I think it's obviously just to remove some of that anxiety of, am I a part of the team? Am I a part of the organization? I think even now I have that, those moments where I think, man, how did I get here? I am a complete fraud. I'm not that good. I think mostly about the times that I've sucked, and I've got plenty of material to think about. And so I think it's and in the way that's motivation and sort of a humility and reality check to just man, I don't know how I got here, and it doesn't really matter because I want to stay here. And so from, whether the mistakes I've made, whatever, it doesn't matter. You've got to invest everything you have at every moment going forward. And that generous opportunity from the Braves, of course, is cool just because it kind of conveys some trust and some unity too. Just hey, we want you a part of the team, a part of the organization. And I think that's great. The environment that we have on the team, as a result, they've done that with a lot of guys. We've had a lot of guys who are deserving of extensions, and are just great personalities and leaders, and it's created a very good culture for us.
Yeah, I would say it has to be, and there can't be many teams that have that same level of young talent that's locked up for a long time as the Braves do. And I know you guys dealt with a lot of injuries last year, but despite that, moving forward, obviously those guys are still around when they come back healthy, and it's got to be comforting for the future.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's great just to know, like, you can build lives with these guys. You can build friendships. Our wives can be friends, and our families can get to know each other. And I think all those things, the value of them can kind of be forgotten. I think sometimes you want to get hyper fixated on the numbers and the things on the field, but that belief and that camaraderie that exists and is often cultivated off the field is huge. And having guys who are secure in their position on the team really helps facilitate that.
I'm sure a lot of the trust from the Braves comes from, the fact that you debuted the year after they win the World Series. Who has been, some of the older guys that have brought you under their wing?
Plenty. I really enjoyed playing with Dansby in 22. I think just seeing somebody that I remember watching when he was at Vanderbilt and kind of following his whole career, and then now, getting a chance to see what was a season going into free agency. So, just such a big, year for him, and and he performed so well too. So he just felt like the leader of that team, and the way he did everything, his leading by example, just a guy that every time I interacted with him, I felt like I was nodding my head. I learned something from him, and there's so many. Charlie Morton is just, good friend and just an awesome dude. So, I'm hoping that he's out there and hears this and remembers that he needs to play next year. And
he keeps trying to walk away, and nobody lets him.
How old is he now?
Yeah, that's right. He just had a birthday, and I believe it was his 41st birthday.
I think you're right.
We might. We've had some calls come in recently and pretty frequently. We're trying to get Klubs back on the diamond.
Nobody wants that.
A couple teams interested.
Nobody wants that
in the hurler.
Yeah, I would love that. I don't know if Chris told you, but I'm top 1% Corey Kluber fan. So
I appreciate it.
I grew up a huge Cleveland fan.
Who were your guys growing up? Was Kluber at the top of that list, or are you just being nice?
No, he legitimately was. For sure. I used to wear 28 for Kluber, and
that's cute.
Then got to college and I couldn't, and then I wore 29, and then I got to the Braves, and that's Smolt's number, so I had to change it up. But yeah, I feel like those 2000 teens Cleveland teams, I could just rattle off every single pitch of every game. So
it's a good time.
Guys like Jason Kipnis and Bonnie Chisenhall, all of them.
Yeah, well, the guy that took 28 for the Yankees from Kluber, he rocks a mustache. I see you've got the beard coming in now, but there's some reports out there that say you have a Walmart version mustache of Austin Wells. How do you feel your stash midseason stacks up to the pack?
I really don't have any concern over the mustache comparisons. I think it's very low on my I often say, man, I wish I had never had this stupid mustache, because now it's all anybody talks about. But yeah.
What decided you to do that do the stash?
It's just I really don't look good without facial hair, so it's a good thing I can grow it. I actually recently just had a very impulsive moment and was like, I'm shaving my whole face, and I just shaved everything off for the first time in 5 years. And yeah, it was a rough week. So
did your wife treat you differently for that week?
Oh yeah. Did not like it at all.
That's funny.
Yeah, we were looking into some stuff before the episode. You grew up in Knoxville. Was there any conversations with the man Tony Vitello, and how did they not get you to stay?
He was not the coach until I had graduated high school.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that was his first year. Was my first year in college.
Did he ever try to steer you away from Clemson while you were there? I guess you would have had to. The rules were different then, but
no, he never did. I didn't even meet him until after I had graduated. And when we're in Knoxville, he's very generous about how they run the facility and lets guys come up and train there, pro guys, and a lot of their team goes back and trains there. So they've got a pretty cool environment. It's been fun to follow what they've been doing.
I feel like you're a good example of a guy who has learned the new way of pitching, how to maximize, their body biomechanically to learn what pitches may work best for them and stuff. How did you go about that process? You kind of remade yourself during your first Tommy John rehab, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think, like I said earlier, just the shock value of like, I got hurt. How did this happen? Why did this happen? All these things that you assumed about yourself or you believed, whether incorrectly or correctly, it calls them into question. And so, at that point I thought, well, how can I prevent this from happening again? I don't ever want to be hurt again. Apparently I didn't do a very good job of it, but, I realized, I had a lot of things I needed to change my arm path. I was very, high angle down the mound. Like my front shoulder was very high. I tried to throw sinkers forever. I thought that seeing the ball moved was good and associated that with being difficult to hit. And then shortly before I got hurt, we got a TrackMan unit at Clemson and I threw on it and we found out that despite trying to sink the ball, I have elite backspin. And so I would my whole career throw fastballs up and get swings and misses and think, man, I got away with one there. And coaches would, yell at me, get the ball down, you keep getting lucky. Found out that I needed to do that. And so was able to have that kind of as the like headline of my revamp after surgery was, how do I accentuate this skill that I seem to have innately of backspinning the baseball? So I had a strong lower half but knew I needed to utilize it more and repattern it to get lower my slot, shorten my arm path to increase my extension and so on. And basically just, build everything off the ability to backspin.
I was going to say, do you think all this advanced technology gives guys more opportunity to get the most out of their bodies just because they know what they need to do? Because you look back, like the prototype pitchers used to be like the tall, lengthy dudes, and you get the most out of your body. You're a good example for some of the younger pitchers coming up.
Yeah, I think it's somewhat of a paradox in a way because now we can understand what guys do well and how to improve upon themselves, but at the same time, it's also enabling everybody to do things probably beyond what their anatomical or physical capabilities are. And I think that's some of the danger that we're seeing play out a little bit is, everybody can learn how to throw a splitter now, and not everybody should. Everybody can learn how to do everything, and in some cases very well and very quickly. So I think the technology is fantastic and it's important. I think that preparation is enormous to me, and so I don't want to go out on the mound without 100% of what I think I have access to, and of course there's some danger and risk associated with the paralysis by analysis, absolutely. But at the same time, it's the big leagues. You're looking for every edge you can get, and I think it's important to utilize all those resources.
Yeah, 100%. And I don't know if people appreciate the amount of information that's at your disposal as a major league pitcher. And to your point, I think there's a lot of guys who can't process all that information. And finding out what works for you, and if you are a guy that can, great. But if you're not, don't try to fit a square peg in a round hole and start reading all these reports. If it's going to affect the way you're out there pitching.
Right. Yeah, I think there's certainly an anxiety in some ways to, I got here, I don't really know how. Let's not touch anything. Let's nobody move too quickly. Let's just keep riding the wave. And that's comforting, but it's not a pathway to elite success. And especially baseball. I mean, just the nature of it, it's such an old rooted traditional game, and Major League Baseball especially, there's so many people and ideas that have been around for so long, and it's very difficult to introduce something new, especially in environments where there's been success. And I think that's what great programs and great organizations and teams and individuals are able to do is step a little bit outside of that circle of what they're already capable of doing and find ways to increase their skill set without compromising what they've achieved before. Who's
been that guy for you so far in the league that you're like, yeah, this is the big leagues, like a guy that gives you trouble?
There's plenty of them. Brandon Nimmo is he's like a ghost looming in the corner of my room at night. I gave up a home run to him in my debut on a 2-strike slider down and in off the plate, and was like, all right, well, that never happened in Double-A, not one time. So this is definitely a different level. And ever since then, I think I've got him out maybe twice. And he's just like the leadoff guy for the Mets. And so it's like you can't even – it's right out of the gate. I got to deal with the most difficult hitter I have to face. And, he's an impressive guy to me. And then I feel like Juan Soto's another one, not that I'm unique in this, that just –
you get a lot of
he steps in the box knowing he's in my head, and I start throwing harder, and it's fun. I appreciate him as a player for what he's able to do. I think he just raises guys' level of competitiveness, and obviously that's the competitor he is, and saw it in the playoffs. And there's a long list I could go through.
Whenever you ask pitchers who their guy is, it's always someone in their division. Like what Klub says. Yeah, Klub says Miggy right away.
You face them all the time. Mm-hmm. They know everything you have. They know what you're going to do, and if you don't execute perfectly, they're too good.
Right. Or you do execute perfectly, and
they're still too good. Yeah.
Do you think it ebbs and flows like with those guys, the individual guys? Like they get you for a couple of years, you get them, or you just kind of always have your number? Like, do you plan on putting Nimmo in his place, or is he just?
I'm due for a flow then at this point. Yeah, I don't know. I hope so. I've got plenty of time to prepare and strategize how I'm going to get him out. So, still looking for the answers.
How is the rehab going? Are you looking at a normal timeline for because a brace, the rehab process is less than a full repair, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the brace rehab is generally like 9 months to a year. It sounds like they've got me on essentially a year program. I had surgery shortly after opening day. And so there's no reason obviously to be a 9-month recovery. I don't need to be facing hitters in January or anything. So, if everything stays on track, then we should be coming into spring training kind of in a normal environment in a way. I'll be facing hitters at the end of February and pitching in games in spring training. And then hopefully shortly after the season, I'm at a point where I'm effective enough and feel good and have achieved what we need to in the program to pitch in big league games.
It's exciting.
You guys, you must go into spring training every year for the next 10 years. You guys are set up beautifully to make a run every year. That's got to feel amazing.
Yeah. I've obviously never been on another team, so I don't know, but I'm sure that it's discouraging to be on a team that doesn't seem to be doing even the most simple and just eye-washy things to try to win. Whereas we're obviously in a much more competitive position, and that enables us to do more advanced and consequential things in our pursuit of trying to win a World Series. So I think like we talked about earlier, just the culture we've got, we're at a point where guys are talking throughout the off season, and we're planning already for spring training and things we're going to do and what we need to achieve and work on, what's going to be the focus, the priority for spring training. So, we're definitely itching to get down there.
That's awesome. So what is your, we'll wrap it up with this, going back to your glory days at Clemson. We got 2 questions for you. One, how do you feel about Dabo not, buying into the portal NIL landscape? It's Clemson, where they were 5 years ago is different than where they are now. I'm sure you have some thoughts toward it.
I trust Dabo. I think that he has established himself as a guy who's capable of turning a program into a winning program. So I'll celebrate him in the good times and stick with him through the bad times. Not that we've had bad times necessarily, but
not bad.
I think that the landscape of college football and college sports has obviously changed so fast that it was inevitable that, especially those who were so successful in the previous model, would be kind of disoriented there for a minute and not know how exactly to adapt. And I think that they're finding out now how in Clemson, and I think they're limited in the fact that the ACC is a little bit weaker of a conference generally too. So, I think we're in a good position right now. Just need Miami to lose. I don't know about Wake this weekend, but they go to Syracuse last game of the season. So see if the orange up there can give me an upset. And then Clemson's in the ACC championship game, and then we're home free. So
there you go.
We were sticking with your guy on the football side of things. I know he wasn't your coach, but how do you feel about Bakich bringing in the Savannah Bananas?
Well, I think Eric Bakich is one of the best and most impressive people I have ever spoken to. I mean, he is just electric, an electric personality, so thoughtful, intelligent. I've really enjoyed getting to know him a little bit and be around the team and just see the program from a distance and up close, even just evolve and what the guys have experienced and learned from him. And I say all that to say that I don't necessarily love the Savannah Bananas yet. I'm slow to the Savannah Bananas. I appreciate what they're doing, and they're calling attention to baseball, which is great. That's not my personality to be jumping around my shirt off, but you know what? Whatever puts people in the seats and makes them happy, makes them like baseball is great. So it's cool. It's cool what they're doing for sure, especially so quickly. You
might offend Klubs. He had an outing for them, and
his 3-pitch cameo was probably the least enthusiastic one they've ever had, I would imagine.
Yeah, Klubs is
you don't seem like a guy who would fit well in the Savannah Banana uniform.
That was not my cup of tea, but the kids ask for certain things, and you got to do it.
You loved it though, no?
Sure.
I think that what they do is very cool.
Yeah. So it's safe to say if you were at Clemson when they rolled into town, you wouldn't have been volunteering to dance on the mound.
Certainly not dance. I think that my skill set does not leak into the media entertainment for sure. I'm not good on the fly like that. So they wouldn't want me out there.
We appreciate you coming on, man. You got a big fan in both of us. We'll be watching. Okay. Good luck in the rehab, and continue being one of the best pitchers in the league. We'll be watching. Thanks for coming on.
Look forward to seeing you back out there.
The Casa De Klub.
Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate the conversation.
Absolutely.
It's the price of admission on the Casa De Klub.